I want to thank everyone who has been here so far. I haven't ever felt so delighted so much while being interrupted with my speech as I did today. That I will talk and we say, how come word is quiet or not saying anything. So I feel privileged today that I have so many people who will hear our story. I'm going to go and talk about Kashmiri Pandits, who is the group that we belong to. Next, please. So when you look at the map of Kashmir and you see the map of India, so green area is where we are from. It is the valley of Kashmir. And this is, as you note, that the blue area is where the Ladakh is, which is the biggest area. And the lower part is of the valley is the orange, which is where Jammu is. So with when we talk about where the dispute is or where we are from, it is the green area. It is about 12 to 15% of the whole J&K. And this is where the powerhouse of politics is. And this is where the people, as we say, the dynasty ruled, and which is where all the people from that control the whole J&K state from this 12%. Next, please. So who are we? So you might ask, why are we here? We are the indigenous Kashmiri people, and we are the ones who are Kashmiri Hindus. And we became minority of the valley over centuries. And how did we become minority? And now we almost have no non-existence in the valley. So we became minority over time as we had forced conversions. And as you all know about our exodus, and we will talk a little bit more about that. Next, please. So before I go to the Kashmiri history and our history, I would like to talk a little bit about the Kashmiri Overseas Association. We are not a political organization. We are a non-profit organization. Our aim is to keep our culture and our Kashmiri, together. And when all of these things have happened lately, we have decided that we must speak up. We must let our story be told, because this goes with how we are going to preserve our heritage. So why does Kashmir, where Kashmiri voices need to be heard? Our Kashmiri Hindu voices are not being heard. Can we go next, please? So what were the articles 370 and 35A? So these articles separated Kashmir from the Indian Constitution and the Parliament. So the laws that apply to J&K were separated from the Indian Parliament laws. So it was very discriminatory toward women, children, and the minority groups. Minority groups were Shia Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, as well as tribal people who were in minority. Next. So they were deprived of their fair share, and there were refugees and Dalits who were also oppressed. So, for example, refugees in 1947, when they came from Pakistan, they did not have any voter right, as well as the Dalits who were oppressed, and they remained as Dalits till now. And LBGT rights that have been changed in India did not apply to J&K state. Next. It was very discriminatory to women and children. So property rights, so if I am a woman and I marry a non-Kashmiri, I can own the property, but my children and my husband cannot inherit that property as per the law. But if it was a man, it doesn't apply to him. So that was discriminatory. Domestic Violence Act. that applies in India did not apply to J&K. Triple talaq, while verbally you can say 3 times talaq, talaq, talaq to a woman and you will get divorced, did not apply to Kashmir as well. It has been abolished, while it has been abolished in all of India. Child marriage that has been abolished in India did not apply to the Kashmir area. Fundamental rights to education for all children that is in India as a right, it did not apply in Kashmir. Next. So what is our story? Why are we here? What has happened to us? Who are we? We are Kashmiri Pandits. And our story is that 99% of us have been ethnically cleansed from the valley. We do not exist in valley less than 99%. So how did that happen? That started with the targeted killings, massacres, and women were raped and then gruesomely killed. And this exodus really came to a fusion on January 1990, when from the mosques came the voices. What was the voices? Reliv, meaning you convert. Seliv, meaning you run for life. Or Galiv, or you die. So these were the slogans that came from mosques. These were in the crowds, and the women or the men were so scared for their lives, for their children, that they all left slowly from the valley. Next. Now it did not stop there. As we saw, the history will show that they killed one and scared hundreds. And in 350,000 people left valley, according to BBC News. That it continued. March 1997, 7 Kashmiri Pandits were killed in a village. In 98, 23 Kashmiri Pandits were killed. And then 2003, 24 Kashmiri Pandits that included children and young women or babies were killed. And this is why we are only less than 90, we are 99% people are gone out of the valley. Next. Where are we 3 decades later? Now, this is not a short period of time. This has been 30 years. Where are we now? Next. And people who had education, people who had means, are me and my people here, people all throughout the world. But the people who were less educated, who were farmers, owned farms, had no means, they still live in migrant camps. These are the people who are in migrant camps, who are migrants in their own country. They are refugees in their own country. We have 4 migrant camps where there are thousands of people still living 30 years later. How are they living? Next. This is where they live. This is a picture from today. This is their inside house and this is their outside. This is where they live. Next. This is their outside. This is where they are living right now. Next. What are our old and young doing? This is what they are doing. Doing nothing. They don't have jobs. They have nothing to do. They are sitting around playing cards or wasting their time. What has that led to? Alcoholism, drugs, health issues. Next. So there is lack of living conditions. The people died from heat strokes. They died from snakes and scorpions bites. They had drowning accidents. We have stress diabetes. They have a feeling of being disowned, disposed, and uprooted. And they have depression, alcoholism, and drug use. And there are enough of medical depressions that has, next. These are some of the references. I can provide even more if need be. This is just a few of the references. But it has come into the medical literature, what kind of diseases these people have. Next. So these are the people who are still languishing in tents, 1-bedroom temporary refugee camps. 30 years later, 3 decades later, this Kashmiri Pandit community has still not been able to return to their homes. and this is their ancestral land. Next. So, as New York Times and European Foundation of South Asia has noticed, that Kashmiri Pandits are the earlier and continuing victims of Kashmir Valley, and we remain so 3 decades later. Next. Why is world silent? Why is our history not being told anywhere? When there is history of Kashmir, our history is walked through, as if we have never existed in that place. Why doesn't Western press and public want to hear our story? We write our story, we talk about it, we send it to the press. Press doesn't want to print it. Why is it so? Why are human rights of Kashmiri Hindus not human rights? We don't have, our lives count. We count. Next. Now I'm going to give you my back to Nisha, who is going to introduce you to the 3 victims of the exodus that happened who are living in this country.